we have something truly exciting for you this morning, and you will see that in a minute. But before, I want to ask you, please subscribe. We really tried to reach 50,000 subscribers before we finish circumnavigation in hopefully February next year, so it's only a couple months. It is very important to us, and for our channel it opens more doors to make these amazing stories for you. So please subscribe. Thank you, and let's go.
Crazy day.
Another day in paradise. I'm here with Chris, and I will ask Chris to introduce himself and the boat.
Guys, I'm Chris. I'm a sailboat captain, skipper, delivery captain, charter captain, and been doing it for a few years now. Currently, I've been living on board on a Amel 55 for the past year and sailed her all the way down the coast to the Canaries, Cape Verde, Caribbean, and then spent the whole season down in the Caribbean, and then delivered her back via Bermuda. So we went from Martinique to Bermuda, Cape Verde, back over here, and now we're sitting in beautiful France in Cannes and at the boat show.
And we're gonna talk about orcas. Tell us from the very beginning where you were going, where it happened, when it happened.
So Gibraltar's right here, and we were in this region right here. And so we're coming through and trying to keep close, and from Lagos to heading for Gibraltar. We wake up in the morning, and essentially I'm sitting at the helm and feel the whole boat just turn all of a sudden. And immediately I kind of had the idea, it's like, I think these are the orcas. And so we were going through where pretty much most of the orca attacks were happening. And pretty much we just felt the whole boat just, and I walked back to the stern and looked down, and there's a big orca there. And
So the blast of air. Hey! I reckon a bit of reverse.
okay.
He's on the side,
He's underneath. Blast of air. He's back on it.
It was kind of funny because usually, like, it wasn't even really shocking to me. I kind of just was like, of course, there's an orca, and like there's such beautiful big creatures, but I just didn't. It was just like, oh, of course the orcas are attacking us. So.
Did you anticipate that when you was leaving? Did you look into that? Did some research?
I've been aware of the orcas since I left pretty much over a year ago. One of my crew members who was actually on the boat when we got attacked was last October doing a delivery from France down to the Canaries, and actually rescued 4 guys off a boat, one of the boats that sunk from the orcas. He actually was able to pick the people up, the 4 guys on the boat, and 15 minutes later they watched the boat sink in the middle of the ocean. We've been aware of this problem. I remember drinking beers at bars in Gijón in Spain with other people going, like, how do we help from the orcas? And that was last October. And so they've been on my mind for a long time, and finally met them, I guess. So. He's coming hard. under us. Under us. So it started off with just one. It looked like one of the younger male ones, and he was just messing with us for a while. And it's just one, and he wasn't really doing too much. And then like 20 minutes later, we look out and just see 3 big fins just coming out of the water. So we're just like, oh, and here's the rest of them. And all of a sudden, I think we were surrounded by 8 or 9 of them, and they were just all coming up and showing their fins, and they'd swim up right next to us. I'm pretty sure they knew that we were standing right there filming them, and they would just pop up and just look at us and be like, I don't know, saying hello or whatever they were saying. And
Do they feel? Do they look intelligent?
yeah, so I studied psychology, and so we learn all the brains and everything. And essentially, the thing that makes humans so special is that we have big forebrains compared to our body size.
Yes.
And when they look at orcas, they actually have bigger forebrains to body size than we do. So some people think that they're some of the smartest animals out there, and just as intelligent as us. And pretty much when they started coming at us, I stopped the boat and put it in reverse.
Uh-huh.
And pretty much we were just doing circles
In reverse.
in reverse around them, and seemed like they were having trouble actually getting at our rudder, because they would come up to it, but then they would try to kind of play with it, but then by the time they were there, the boat would kind of be moving towards the propeller, and I think that is kind of what scared them. So they weren't able to they couldn't figure out how a boat was moving reverse.
Uh-huh.
They were really just having trouble doing it. They could push the rudder over, but it never really seemed like they were slamming too hard or anything. So, but we were sometimes going a little bit over. I could see my rudder limit and everything, and usually it's at 45 degrees. Sometimes it'd say 50. Oh. But I think we're slamming in reverse pretty hard.
Uh-huh.
So I think that was damaging us, but I think that was more the boat moving backwards. And then, but then once a few of them started coming and kept attacking, and it went on for about an hour. And so it was just back to back, and we had called the Coast Guard immediately, and they were on their way. And so eventually the orcas, they attacked us for about an hour, and then they left. And then we checked our steering. Our steering had been knocked off the hydraulic connections, but then we put it back on. We had steering. We were sailing away all fine and happy, and then eventually we just see the fins again and go, they're back. And so we thought we were safe, and then I'm pretty sure one of them was watching us, said, oh, these guys are still moving, and then they just come on back and started attacking us again. And
So in that hour while you were circling backwards, how much damage did they do? You still could steer your boat after that?
We have 2 autopilots on there. I think they knocked off one of them. We switched to our other autopilot, and that was still working. So we could control the rudder through the autopilot, and then but the main hydraulic steering was knocked off, but we were still moving, and happy to go in one direction. And so we're just shooting our way towards land.
Were you using engine or just sails?
Yeah, we were under engine for that.
Both times, right?
Both times. There's very little wind that day, so.
So when the Coast Guard came over, you lost the steering, right? That's why you called them up?
Yeah, so at first we lost our steering, so we called them for pretty much because we didn't think we could control our boat. And then by the time they came, we had kind of did a little repair and got it going again, so.
Since we talked yesterday, you said the very interesting thing that the most of damage was done while you were towed.
Yeah, so pretty much what happened is we got our steering back, and then the Coast Guard was already there. We were trying to communicate to them in Spanish, which is always a little difficult, and over the radio too, that we had steering and we were capable of moving, but we kind of think that they were already there, and they put us on tow. And then once they were towing us, the orcas just had full access to our rudder essentially. And you can see in the videos that they, unlike reverse, they were able just to sit at the rudder and just play with it as much as they wanted to. And there would be 2 or 3 orcas just sitting right behind our boat, taking turns, and just pushing on it, and we were being towed, and all of a sudden you feel the whole boat go and just going everywhere. And the tow guys are just going slow, and so yeah.
How did your rudder hold on?
Eventually I put a GoPro in the water, and I could see the rudder at the top, but then you look down and it's split pretty much in the half waypoint going down the rudder. And so they messed it up, and eventually we thought we could get steering back, and so we actually asked the Coast Guard to stop, and we could steer one way, but then the other way was blocked because the whole like shafter on it was like bent up a little bit, so we couldn't rotate it one direction. So then we just told the Coast Guard, all right, take us in, like, and so we just went in, and they docked us, and yeah.
When the Coast Guard told you, did they charge you for that?
Yeah, we had about a €2,000 charge for that, and
How far they needed to tow you?
about 20 miles.
20 miles.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pricey.
Yeah, very pricey, and but not much else to do out there except the rudder was like pretty much sideways, so we would have probably just done circles for a long time. So, but happy they could come and help us get in.
That's probably the most important thing, that they did show up.
Yeah, they did show up. They came, and we saw them coming from so far away, and they're all the way down on the throttle and going fast, and so coming to us. And even when the orcas were still attacking us, they did some circles around us before, which I thought was the most helpful and scared the orcas away for a second. But for the most part, it seemed that anything you did, you could scare them away for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and then they just come back. And they're like, oh, that problem's gone, and come back and keep doing it. They were very determined with us. So
I saw your video. I was very impressed how nonchalant, you didn't panic. I really like that about your attitude, because in panic you can do a lot of crazy stuff, probably even doing more damage.
Yeah.
So I like that.
For the most part, like you look at the boat and go, we're not sinking, no problems right now. Like, yeah, we don't have our rudder, but the boat, we're fine, people are fine, the boat's fine. And other than that, you just kind of take it from there. And like, as long as it's an Amel too, so we water pumps, we have a bunch of water pumps ready that we plugged into batteries. We're ready to put it in the lazarette in the back, just in case there's water intrusion that started coming in from the rudder, because a few boats usually get that from the shaft breaking into the boat, and so we had water pumps ready for that. And on an Amel you can shut off the entire boat from different sections, so we're ready on that. We know all the different areas for that. And so other than that, we were just kind of preparing for the worst. I had my grab bag sitting right here ready to go, and so other than that, there's not much we do. We knew the Coast Guard was coming too, so, and we knew we weren't far from anything, so. Yeah,
and you said it was you and 2 crew, right? 3
yeah,
people
me and
total.
2 other people, 3 people total.
Yeah, that's crazy. So when you got into the marina, towed in, or boatyard, I don't know, what was it? You said there was many boats like that?
Yeah, there are about 20 boats in that marina in Barbate. And every boat the one guy next to me was like, yeah, I don't even have my rudder on my boat right now. And so many other people were there, and just for the same exact reason, because this one region is where they're just attacking everyone that goes by. And
can you share it on the maps? Which region is that?
Yeah. So it's right here. So Gibraltar's right here, and we were in this region right here.
So Barbate, it's also the fishing nets, right? Where you said it's...
Yeah, so they're known for really big fishing nets. It's really impressive to see. Like, they have these giant fishing nets that go out at least a mile or so offshore. And they're big tuna nets. So all the fish swim into it, they catch it. And so, good place to get stuck, because I eat fresh tuna every single day, and I don't think it could get fresher than that. And but yeah, I think that's a theory with orcas, is that they're hanging out where all the tuna are getting in, and they're a little bit pissed off about it, and trying to take it out on other things. I even talked to the guy at the boatyard, and he said they've been bumping fishing boats, but they don't have as much to hurt on a fishing boat. They just go up and bump the fishing boats and mess with them a little bit, and So they're just messing with everyone out there. But the sailboats have the big rudders to mess with, so.
So you are not the owner, you didn't have to deal with that, I believe, but do you know if insurance paid for that?
Insurance paid about half of it, but they didn't cover everything, so it was a bit of money out of pocket, I know that. But we pretty much had to get the guys down there did a pretty good job. They have a bit of experience, it seems like. I show up to the yard and he goes, here's my new rudder I made here, here's a new rudder, here's a new rudder. And he had 10 rudders sitting there, and pretty much they fiberglassed everything, rebuilt it, and tried to make it even stronger. Yeah, so they had a lot of experience doing that. So they built it up in a few weeks and put it back in, and we were in the water probably 3 weeks after that, and took off and crossed our fingers again right when I left. It was like that eerie feeling going like, we're still exactly where they attacked us. Like,
oh my God, I can't even believe
and so
it. It's like...
I was just putting it throttle all the way down and trying to just get out of there, because it was about 20 miles to Gibraltar. And so I was just making it around there, and that was supposed to be the safe, like, thing is right when you enter the med is supposed to be safe, but
yeah.
So you just had to make it there essentially at that point.
On the other hand, did you try to put any like sand or whatever? You know, they say sand is just messing their sonar or something. So did you?
Yeah, some people say that. There's also videos of orcas being right on the beach and everything. So I don't know. To me, I've had a bunch of people tell me everything that I did wrong and everything that I should have done and all that kind of stuff. But it really seemed like they were just determined that they wanted to do it. Anything that we tried, they would just swim away for 2 minutes, come back and keep doing it. We had our holding tanks fully full when we left, and right when the guy showed up, we opened one of them, and he swam away for a second, comes back, and then like once the stuff goes away, then they just come back. And they were determined, and I don't really know much of what we could have done, but there's always things, and every day they're finding out new, better ways to avoid them. And some guys are they can't release their exact positions, but some guys started to release general positions that they're in, and so that helps people get around them and everything and find new ways around them. But like, even some people are like, oh, you got to do it shallow, but then there was some attack shallow. Some people were trying to go down to Morocco. There was attack down in Morocco, and it's just like,
yeah, that's where we're planning to go in Morocco.
Yeah, that's my plan too. I'm going back across, and we'll see. Hopefully they're still up. I think they're up Portugal coast a little bit right now.
I hope so. Would you do anything different now when, you know, time passed by?
I don't know. I think the main thing people say is keep really close to shore, which has its disadvantages too, and can be a little bit dangerous too. And but that's the main thing that people keep saying. It seems like the most attacks happen a little bit more offshore. So, but I don't know. It's a crazy one. And
so for you, how far offshore it happened?
We were more than 20 meters, that's for sure. Then that's the main thing that people keep saying. So should have listened to that, but there was a bunch of stuff on the internet, and we were a little bit, I don't know, we thought we could do it, and we were kind of in the opinion like, oh, why would it happen to us? Yeah. And here we are, and
as you
paid
said,
the damages.
It was full boatyard of damaged boats. It wasn't like they picked just specifically you out of 1 out of 20 boats a year or something. Not the same story, right?
Yeah, we were about 400 miles off the coast of Portugal, and we ran into some random boat out there, so we were radioing with them and everything, and then we ended up seeing them again in that boatyard because they had they were on a catamaran. Hayden, we're on an interview, man.
So tell your experience about orcas. You have even more experience, do you?
Yeah, so when was it? October last year, I was on a delivery from Brest in France, down the Bay of Biscay and then down the Portuguese coast. So when we left, Lacaroon, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, I always get it wrong, but we knew the orcas were nearby.
You knew? How did you know? Because
so the Facebook pages, there'd been sightings nearby. So the owner of the boat had this weird, it's like a sonar device that you tow behind. And he was quite insistent that we used it, so we're like, wow, you know, what harm can it do? So we put that on. And then we were, I think it was the first day that we'd left the harbour, heard a mayday come through on the radio. So we sort of left it and, you know, we're like, oh, wait for the Coast Guard to respond. And they put a second mayday out. We're like, something's off here, the Coast Guard haven't responded. So we acknowledged the mayday, put a mayday relay out, and then the Coast Guard came on the radio, and it was quite hard to hear. Like, there's a really bad signal, or you know, like they were obviously quite far away, but we were only about 40 minutes away, so we told them we're on our way, we'll get there as soon as possible. And you could hear the relief in the skipper's voice on the radio, because he'd done 2 maydays, heard nothing. He's like, you know, obviously they were taking on a lot of water. So then, yeah, we got to them, and I can show you pictures afterwards.
How long it took for you to get to them? You were 40 miles away.
40 minutes, sorry.
Oh, 40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. And then when we got there, the water line was, they probably had like, I don't know, a foot of freeboard.
What kind of boat they were on? How big?
It was a Beneteau, just under 40 foot, I think.
Oh.
So yeah, we got there and had them get into their life raft, which was obviously quite scary because the Orcas had only just left. And then we got them on board, and then not long after, maybe 5-10 minutes, the boat completely went under.
Yeah. Do you know when Orcas left?
So it was about 5 minutes before we arrived, which was interesting. Back to the sonar device. We don't know if the Orcas got bored because the rudder had gone, or us coming close to them with the sonar device actually did scare them away. You never know, but maybe there's some merit in them.
Yeah, but you were not attacked then. So I would like to know a little bit more about that sonar device.
Yeah.
And maybe you can share something. And of course, so you didn't do the introduction, we just dragged you into it. You want to introduce yourself? And
yeah, I'm Hayden. I'm from New Zealand. So April last year, I quit my job as a mechanical engineer and wanted
nice
to go.
Have you on boat.
What's that, sorry?
It's nice to have you on boat, mechanical engineer.
Oh, yeah, trying to fix things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to go do something cool, so came over to Europe and did a season skippering in Croatia. And then I came back, and then jumped on this boat, did a Atlantic crossing. I love the charter skippering and love the ocean deliveries.
One you saw, the other one you experienced, Orca attack.
Yeah.
And are you going across Atlantic again?
Yeah, hopefully. That's the plan. So.
Are you buying the sonar device?
I think it's probably worthwhile.
So, about the sonar, right? Chris, you said you heard in the boatyard somebody had it and still got attacked?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that's one of those things that there's so many different things out there that everyone's trying these new things, and I think there's one boat that got attacked with it, and like, I don't know, it's one of those things, like, there's people thinking that the black anti-foul's the reason that it's getting attacked versus the blue and stuff, but I don't know, sometimes it just seems like you're just the wrong boat going by at the wrong time, and that's how it is. So
did you see any blue holes?
I don't know, I think there's a red one next to me. I have a few pictures of ones who got holes punched in them.
Holes punched?
There was one that sunk in the marina. It was sailing in while sinking and then sunk right in front of the town. I got a picture of it
goodness. Somewhere. That is getting more scary now. I'm scared going there.
Well, there's another boat that was sinking, and they they were good about it and had all their pumps ready. And they had so many pumps that were pumping all out, and they were able to sail into the marina and get hauled out and do emergency haul out. And so they didn't sink their vessel even though they were taking on a lot of water.
There was something else with this boat, with the skeg rudder. When the Orcas came, you know, we're like, yeah, we'll be fine, you know, we've got the skeg rudder and think it's all nice and strong, and next thing you know, you've got no steering.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a reality check for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your footage, your pictures, your everything. I really appreciate that on behalf of everyone who's watching our videos. There's definitely tremendous interest in that, and you obviously have a lot of experience. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So the blast of air. Hey! I reckon a bit of reverse.
Okay. He's on the side,
He's underneath. Blast of air. He's back on it.
I think they're both full.
He's coming hard. Under us. Under us.
Oh, here they are. Alright. Whoa, fuck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know, I hope so.
Look at broke that thing on.
So they're having a go at the rudder right now. You can see the wood, the fucking chipped in there. This is our normal steering and a normal pilot. So that just popped off. And we've still got this one here. I can still have the nibble. Whoa. And the other way. So these orcas aren't actually licensed to be steering a sailing vessel. So they're in breach of the local maritime laws by steering this right now. And still going for it? Maybe not.
If you like this video, give us a like down below and click here to subscribe. That really helps us. And if you want to watch more of us, click one of those.
They said they came from Spanish.